Hello! Welcome to our live show discussion for The King of Crows by Libba Bray. This is our final live show discussion for the Diviners Club read along. So first off, I just want to thank you guys so much for participating and being here. If you guys have been reading along with us. And this really started just because we love the series and we want to celebrate the conclusion of it. So I will let my lovely hosts introduce themselves. But if you don't know me, I am Emma. I'm from Emma Books. This is my YouTube channel. And Monica and Sarah can introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Monica, and I'm just really excited to talk all things King of Crows. I actually just finished it last night, so it's very fresh and nice.
And I'm Sarah from Sarah Without an H. Yeah, I finished it like a month ago, so Monica's definitely going to have the best memory of everything that happened.
So we will start off our live show by talking maybe just generally about the book, and then we are going to jump into spoilers, so we will give you guys a warning when we do so. But feel free to leave your comments and questions for us to discuss in the chat because we really want to hear from you guys and what you liked about King of Crows. I guess I can start. I really enjoyed my time reading The King of Crows. I gave it like 4.5 out of 5 stars because for me, like when I get into a series that I love so much and one that is so well written as the Diviner series as a whole, I tend to be a little biased towards it, and I kind of just am like, I'm enjoying this. I love this. I love the characters. Like that foundation of that I have with it really helps me enjoy it more. Definitely some mild criticisms and some things that I didn't like about it that we'll discuss later. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a very satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, I can jump in. I feel pretty similarly. I think I was kind of always biased to like this one because I love journey and road trip books. So I was really excited when that was like a huge chunk of what the book was like. And I feel like this one did such an interesting job in the way that it explored all the different characters in very fresh ways. And so I loved that part of it. So yeah, I think I don't know what I would rate it just yet. It'd probably be like around 4.5 stars for me also. It's not my favorite of the series, but I'll be honest, conclusions very rarely ever are. And so yeah, so I really enjoyed it, but I'm excited to dive in deeper.
Yeah, I used to be the type of person who liked conclusions. Like I always considered conclusions to be my favorite, and that doesn't seem to be the case for me anymore. Sarah, what did you think of it?
So I liked it for the characters. Like I love the characters a lot. This, in my opinion, was the weakest book in the series, so I actually would give it more like 3 or 3.5 stars. I feel similarly though that like I feel like conclusions these days just feel like they're not what they used to be. Like I feel like back in the day when like Harry Potter concluded, we were all like, that was amazing. Like, good job, amazing. But like recently, like I like read a different conclusion for a different series recently, and I felt the same way where it was like similarly like 3-ish stars. I like some things about it. I kind of never really thought about this, but I think I don't like road trip stories, and I think that's part of why I like it. Because it was kind of like a road trip, and then it was almost the opposite, where they were kind of stuck in one area for a very long time in the book. So there was just, there's a lot of pacing issues for me. And then I thought the ending was like super rushed. Like I felt like the meat that I would have really, like I liked like what was happening in the ending. I just wish the ending had taken, like everything that was happening had taken up more of the book, because I would have enjoyed that a lot better and probably rated it a lot higher. So yeah.
It's actually interesting the like Harry Potter comparison, because I would actually compare this book a lot to Deathly Hallows in that it like I feel like pacing wise is very similar in that it's like a huge journey and then like everything right at the end.
That's fair.
And I kind of felt pretty similarly about like the way that it wrapped things up in that I felt like it was good and I liked the conclusion, but it was also, I don't know, I just feel like I never liked conclusions as much as I want to.
Yeah. It's actually, now that you say that Harry Potter was also a road trip, I totally forgot. I think I'm just biased to Harry Potter too, and I just love it no matter what it does. So I guess I'm already like, what's the word? Like going against what I was saying about myself.
I like this comment from Danielle that says, unfortunately, I was really let down by this. It felt like a completely different person was writing from the first three. All the characters are so watered down and the writing was just weak. Well, I don't personally agree with that. I think, number one, I can understand how people would feel that way about this book. And number two, that's how I feel about many of the conclusions. Like, that's exactly what I think it comes down to with conclusions is for many authors, it's often been so many years. I mean, think of Libba Bray. When was The Dividers first published?
Like a decade ago, right? She wrote it a decade ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
So I feel like that's often what happens is that like it's been so long and they become so far removed from what the first one is that oftentimes that's what can be a factor in it. I was also.
Oh, sorry.
No. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I can kind of get what they're saying about the characters being watered down. Well, I don't agree with that comment 100% because I do think they acted like themselves. I do feel like without getting into spoilers just yet, I do feel like Evie and Theta and some of the characters kept making mistakes that I feel like they'd already learned from in earlier books. Like there was a lot of dumb bitch energy in this book where I was like, we've already been here, done this. Like, why would you act like? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And same with Theta. I was like, are we not? We don't think anymore? Is that just
yeah, what I was gonna say is that before we jump into spoilers, maybe we can like talk about like how we would rank the series based on like each individual book. Have either of you given thought to like how you would do that? Like what your order would be?
Yes. I think oh no, Monica, you go.
No, you go.
Oh, sorry. I keep doing that. I'm sorry. I would say for me would be 2, 1, 3, and then 4.
You said 2, 1, 3, and 4. I think that's my order too.
Yeah.
I think mine is basically the same, but it would be 2, 1, 4, 3.
Okay.
But 4 and 3 are like the same for me. I don't know. It's hard. 3 I feel like was like when I reread it, it would now be 4-3. But when I first read it and like the catharsis that 3 was for me, like reading it right after the election and stuff, like it'll always be special for me for that reason. So yeah, it's a hard decision.
Yeah, in the comments, feel free to share like what your orders would be if you're all caught up. But I think for me, ultimately, The Diviners really is like a consistently great series, which I feel is often not the case. I feel like so often there's like big jumps where like maybe the first book is amazing and the second book is such a letdown, and then it gets better in the third and the fourth is maybe in the middle of the road. I feel like all across the board, like those rankings are so close together and almost equal. Whereas there's other series that like there's big jumps and a lot of variety in the quality of the different installments.
Yeah.
I think it's, I was saying to Emma earlier, for Went Live, I feel like it's a really ambitious series, like much more ambitious than I think a lot of the like YA that I do read tends to be in what she's trying to say and what she's trying to accomplish with it. And I also like, I think about the time frame that she wrote this series over, like starting off when Obama was president and now like to today, like finishing it. I feel like the books kind of move with the current of America today as much as it does with the time that she's writing it. And I feel like that reflects a lot in the actual story that she's written. And I feel like it had impacted this final book, which I thought was pretty interesting to read. But also, like, I feel like a big chunk of this book was like she probably would not have written this ending back when she first started the series. But I think like this ending is the ending that she wrote after living through what we've all lived through.
It's a really good, it's a really wonderful commentary on that.
I was gonna sorry, I keep doing it.
No, listen, we haven't done a live show in a hot minute. We have to get back into our group of it. What were you gonna say, Sarah?
I was gonna say that as Monica was talking with her thesis is actually really convincing too. I feel like when you put it like in comparison to other YA series of being really ambitious, it like if I had to compare this to other YA series, I feel like the 3.5 stars I'm giving this book is way higher than a 3-star for another book. It's just like I was more holding it to like the diviner standards, but I think you're right. Like when you place it back in the category of YA, it's like she's just making so much like social commentary as well as like providing like a really cool fantasy world that has like intrigue and stuff. So it's like a good mixture of a lot of things. And I feel like a lot of books don't go there. And for it not to be own voices for a lot of the rep, but still, I mean, obviously I can't speak, but from what I know, it being done well, you can tell that she like took the time to like make sure that she was representing people.
Yeah, Libba has like, I feel like she really has done the work when it comes to all of the different issues and experiences that she's tried to capture. And like people look at the diviners and like, oh my God, they're so big, it's so intimidating. But like, this is one of those books where the length of it reflects the content. Everything that's incorporated in the book is important. And I just really feel like it's so much, like you guys have said, it goes beyond what a lot of the other young adult books that are being published do. And I think what she does really, really well.
Right.
I agree.
Should we jump into spoiler discussion? Should we talk about the actual content of the book? So I think that's our cue. So if you have not read The King of Crows and you don't want to be spoiled, this might be your time to head out, but you can come back because this will be published on my channel later. But you guys are also welcome to leave your questions or comments or things that you guys want to discuss and chat about it with us. Do either of you have something in particular that you want to discuss first?
Do you want to start off with like like just how they all branch off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we go back over like what the different pairings were? Because that would be helpful to me. Because it was the first one was
Memphis, Henry, and Bill.
Yeah.
First group. Evie, Sam, and Theta, and Isaiah. And then Ling and Jericho.
Yes, and they went off with Alma.
Alma.
Other
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everybody, right?
Yeah, so what did you guys think of them? Monica, maybe I know you felt really passionately about this, so maybe you can lead us in this discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the most interesting things that she does in it is like the pairings that she gives us are ones that we would have no other reason to have seen, like these characters act or be so close or behave so closely previously, because they've all sort of paired off separately on their own organically in the past few books, just like who they're closer with or who they have a romantic connection with. And so I really enjoyed, like with Memphis, for example, getting to see him apart from Theta and Isaiah and getting to see him grow sort of like as his own. I thought that was really awesome and allowed him to really branch out and just grow as a character. And then with Evie and Sam, it was nice just to get to watch them be together because we had to, as readers, see them apart for so long. So it was nice just to get like a lot of that. But yeah, I think overall, like I really liked the way that she did that split so that we had to see these characters sort of grow in ways that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I really like that. And I love that you focused on that because it's something that I also particularly loved about the book. Because from the Diviner series, like it feels like surprisingly like in the first two books, they are all still kind of paired off in their own different ways. It's like Sam and Evie and Theta and Memphis and Theta, Memphis, and like, they have all their individual ones. And then at the end of Lair of Dreams and through Before the Devil Breaks You, they're all kind of together. And that this is when we see them interacting as a group and having their own friends. And then they're broken up again into different groups. So I think it's very interesting how she really kind of developed the characters individually as a part of the group as a whole, and then in the different individual ones that they've been a part of throughout the series. It feels like they've all become so well-rounded because they have interacted with each other in so many different contexts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the pairings. They're fine. I liked Ling and Jericho together.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that.
I think they might have been my favorite pairing, although someone in the comments mentioned that they missed Henry and Ling together, and I agree. But I do think it was like a nice change of pace. I don't think I loved the pairing of like Evie, Theta, Isaiah, and Sam. I just feel like because there was 4 in that group, so it felt like a lot of them got to be together. And I kind of feel like Evie and Sam and Theta make sense together, so it didn't really like add to that like. I don't know. I mean,
That's fair.
I was happy for Isaiah that he got to go to the circus. Like that was my favorite part of that. But yeah, that chunk probably was not my favorite group, but I did like it though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite parts of the book though was when they had all come together, like that scene where I think it was they were all following Mabel. Was it? It was.
Yeah.
If I'm correct. When they all came together, I was in the shower and I was like crying. I was very overwhelmed. I just thought I loved the moment of them like all reuniting. Because it seemed so bleak for a while. I was like, how are these characters gonna find each other?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that although they got that time apart, they were able to reconnect and really work as a group for the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Right.
I also really like that I was nervous about this before going into it, but I really like that they left New York City because I feel like so much about this book is about like trying to tell like America's ghost story. And it's hard to do that if you're only in New York City. So it was nice like to see them leave. It's also just really funny. I loved like Memphis having to like struggle with like New York City manners in the South. I thought that was funny. So it's like just the way that you're supposed to talk and stuff, and like Henry and Bill being like, "Why are you being so rude?" So I thought that was funny. It's like a little bit of the culture shock of like going from the city to outside of the city, and also just like exploring the horrors that were going on in America. Like if you weren't in the city at the time, I thought that was really important and really well done. And one of the things I really liked about like the whole journey element.
Something that the chat is kind of going on about that I think we should bring to the whole discussion is Sarah Beth. It starts with Renee saying, please talk about Sarah Beth because I didn't trust that girl for 1 second. And I remember I really wanted to rewatch our last live show before this one because I would have liked to think about all our theories. And I remember we were like, it would be interesting to have like another character who is like on their side, but we were very skeptical about her like before she even entered.
She seems to be from day one. She's
yeah,
like, I come to Bountiful, Isaiah. I was like, okay, demon.
Well, like she kind of won me over when she like saved them at the very beginning, and I was like, okay, well maybe she's gonna be fine. And then like the longer they were at the farm, I was like, there was something creepy happening. Like something happened to this girl.
Yeah, that was one of the main things that I didn't like about the story is like it was so obvious to me that she was so sketchy, and I was like, why aren't any of the characters catching on to this? Like, I wonder how you guys felt about that.
I mean, yeah, I think they just felt bad because she did seem like a little bit like developmentally, that was a hard word to say, developmentally challenged. So I think they were trying not to be like judging her and stuff. And I was like, no, she's definitely sketchy for sure.
Yeah, I feel like part of it is like part of like Isaiah's isolation too.
Yeah, I think
like no one really
part of it.
Yeah, like no one really taking him seriously and just or like thinking very thoughtfully about like the stuff that he was experiencing, I feel like. And I feel like maybe if they had done that, they would have thought like, why is this girl? But also like it kind of goes with their whole, like they're all kind of dumb. Like the fact that he listened to the King of Crows in the first place, and he was like, maybe you should use your powers on the ghost. And they were like, okay.
Right.
You know, so.
I think I would have learned right now.
They did so many things in this book where I was like Evie, like she woke up Mabel's ghost when like 1 million people, like at least 2 ghosts had already told her, and like people had already told her, leave her be. If you don't see her, it's because she is resting. And maybe and Evie was just like, nope, I will call upon her. And then she gets taken by the king, and I was just like, Evie. And then Theta, when she like did the binding spell with what is that character's name? The ex-boyfriend of Elijah, yeah, like the whole Elijah thing. I was just like, guys, we've already done this with John Hobbs in book 1. Why are we calling this way?
Yeah. I feel like the Evie thing, though, like with Mabel, it made a lot of sense to me.
Yes.
Like, it just felt like this is, like, it would have felt out of character for me had she not been a little dumb. Because I was like, yeah, this is, like, of course. Like, and then there's that moment where Mabel was like, you didn't listen to me when I was alive and you still don't listen to me now. And I was like, yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
And I don't think someone's nature would ever change that much. But I liked her journey with Mabel, even though it was a difficult one.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, the way that they like ended off, and the way that like Mabel finally was like laid to rest, I thought it was really satisfying. And I think I agree. Like it was frustrating to read because I was like, this is such a bad idea. The same thing with Memphis and Isaiah too. Like obviously the point is that like grief blinds people. Like that's what it's trying to say. I get it. But I'm also like, I see so clearly through this that it was frustrating, but I think that it was very in character. But I think comparing those two situations, I would have expected more of Memphis. I would have expected him to like not make that deal. I was like, are you kidding? Like, I feel like he would have known. Maybe Evie would have done the things, but I feel like, but then again, it changes people. I get it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I agree about that for sure.
I feel like that was like his. I'm sorry if you can hear a motorcycle going by, but I feel like that was his breaking point for him. And at that point, I feel like he just did not care. Like he didn't care about like tomorrow. He didn't care about the future because like Isaiah, like that was the future for him.
Right.
And so to have that like taken away, I don't know. I feel like his reaction. I very rarely I feel annoyed by characters though. So like that's probably part of it.
Something else, while we're on the topic of Isaiah, is Neville Longbottom says, I didn't want Isaiah to die, but I was annoyed that they brought him back. It's a pet peeve of mine when character deaths are reversed. That's exactly how I feel about it too. Like, I think also we had talked about like the possibility of Isaiah dying at the end of our last live show. So I wasn't at all surprised by it. I was in pain reading it because it was so gruesome and horrible. Everything about that scene was heartbreaking. But I was like, if we're gonna kill off a character, like they should stay dead. Like stick.
Right.
I agree. How do you guys know about that?
I agree, but I also really like Isaiah's like what he goes on to do. I like that he's kind of the one who like sees through it all. So I like that, but I agree. I kind of wish that she had either given us a different death to like devastate us, or I don't know. I mean, I didn't dislike it wholly, but I agree that it would have been more impactful had it been a more permanent thing.
Right.
So yeah.
That's kind of how I felt. Like I was like really upset when Isaiah died, also because it was so like horrible the way Sarah Beth like murdered him. So I was like, oh my god. Yeah. And then in like literally like 2 chapters later, it was reversed, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess fine, sure. I just feel like I feel like when authors provide ways around things, I get really annoyed because Sandra Claire does that too. I think on her series enders, she always finds some way to make everything work out. And I'm like, yes, I like this because of the fan service-ness of it. Like I love Isaiah and I don't want him to die. But I just like feel like that's not how like, not that any of this is real life because it's all like fantasy, but like I just like real life would have real consequences and like real, you know, versus then like the other two, like with Bill and Jericho dying, they got like 1 page. It was like, bye.
I will say I was like sobbing when he was like with his mom and he like chose to go back. I was just like
with Bill was a character that like I really struggled with at the beginning of the series, and I like was holding grudges against his grievances and whatnot, but I think he's a character that really proves himself and has a very satisfying and fulfilling character arc. And I was really moved by his death, the way that like he just like totally sacrificed and did what he had to do for everyone else. I thought it was really noble.
And I was like, get her.
I agree. I loved Bill's like whole arc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was glad that Sarah Beth also got murdered. I was like, do it.
Yeah.
Well, no, she didn't die.
She didn't die? He got shot before she died?
So he didn't kill her. He just took away all of her power.
Mm-hmm.
Both Isaiah's power and her power.
Yeah.
He didn't kill her. Because I think like that would have been a questionable ending for Bill to like kill a little girl.
I guess you're right. I think I missed like when I was reading it, like it was kind of a short scene, so I think I just like read into what I wanted to happen to Sarah Beth.
Yeah, fair.
While we're talking about the deaths, I feel like we should also talk about Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys feel? What Sarah said before is that like his death was so quick. He got like one tiny chapter.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like he got a whole book. You know, like when I was reading it, really you know, all of it with like his relationship. I'm blanking on her name. Lupe. With his relationship with her, I feel like as soon as that started happening, I was like, okay, he's getting like a love, and then she's gonna kill him. But I kind of feel like so much of his book was like him coming to peace, like with the lieutenant coming to him as a ghost and like sort of easing him into it. So I kind of felt like the whole thing was like easing Jericho into death almost. But at the same time, I feel like for me, he is, out of all the characters, has always been the weakest in consistency, or not inconsistent. I just feel like, honestly, it's hard for me to get over the assault moment, and like I can't fully flesh out like, are we supposed to believe that that was just the serum, or was it Jericho? And I feel like if that hadn't happened, I would probably feel like his character was stronger, because it just felt like it muddled everything. In a way that I don't think added much. I feel like it was mostly there to like make the split between him and Evie, versus like actually adding anything to his character.
Yeah, I agree. I think with the way this book went, it made it feel like, because like when I read the third book, I wasn't like overly like upset, because I know some people really were upset by the assault arc, and so I was like, oh, I don't know. But then with the way the fourth book went and how we like were supposed to forgive him so quickly, I was like I know Evie struggled with it the whole time, but it made it feel like she just shouldn't have done that in the third book. Somebody in the comments said, no way where they say it, I forget where they said it, but they were saying something along the lines of like they were okay with Jericho dying, but they thought he didn't get a good death. And that's how I kind of feel about it, because if you think about it logically, he had run out of the serum, and at like after everything with the King of Crows, like Jake Marlowe wasn't going to make anymore, so he would have had to he would have either died or gone mad or something anyway, which also makes it kind of like he does seem expendable, where it's kind of like, oh, let's conveniently make it so like he has to die anyway. But yeah, I just feel like his death, I think it just goes back to what I was saying earlier of, I just wish all those ending scenes from pretty much when Isaiah died on, I wish that part of the book had like, if this was the book, we had moved all that sequence up a little bit earlier and made that longer and taken away less of the time on the farm. Like there was all those chapters about them doing their radio show, and I was like, but why? Like we could have been doing all that. And I don't know, the ending just felt super rushed, and I feel like Jericho's death is kind of long. Like I kind of like barely remember. Like I remember there could be a couple of pages of him being like, everybody go. And he like, I pictured, you know that in Avengers when Captain America is like holding the helicopter and the building. No.
I've never seen it.
I've seen it, but I have no idea. But I feel like I can picture it.
They're holding them together and they're like, everybody out.
Yeah, I like the ending. I like what happened, but I also wish it had just been expanded on more. Right. And so, yeah, like I like Monica, I was like, I've always been the least interested in Jericho, and I don't think that he contributed the most to the story. Right. And so I felt that he was like one of the characters that was like easily disposable. And so I was kind of expecting him to die. And I was happy with the way that he died because I feel like his character had come a long way since Before the Devil Breaks You, and I was happy to see him, finding love and moving on and getting a better life for himself. But I think that like the way that he kind of saved everyone in the end really started to like add to his redemption arc in that respect.
Right.
Yeah. I had a big moment of panic when I thought she was killing off Evie.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I was like,
I was
you
not
can't
okay
do
with
this
that.
to me again.
That's true. Yeah. I just had a feeling she wasn't going to die, but I also was like, what's happening here, Libba?
Yeah, she came really close. I was really nervous. I was really, really nervous.
It was so frightening.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that's better than killing them off, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they've gone through a terribly tragic event that they have to grow and move on from, but they don't actually die. So sometimes I'm like, it's better that way.
Mm-hmm.
While we're just keeping on with Jericho, just one last time. Library of Cerys says, I think what was very disappointing for me was that I really loved Jericho in book 1, but despite every book cared about him less and less when he died, it just felt mad to me.
I get that.
So I can definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just wish, like, looking back on it, like, if you think about when she wrote this book, like, let's say, like, 2010, she started writing it, or whenever she did, I feel like love triangles were just really popular in YA when she was writing it. Like, that was the trope to have in your books. And so I feel like maybe if she wrote it now, she wouldn't have done the love triangle. I don't know, maybe she would have, maybe that was always her intention. But I feel like because it kind of, I remember when I read it, though, I actually was Team Jericho for a little bit, and then I think book 2 is what had flipped me to being Team Sam. But, like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it, like, we could have gone without the love triangle and without the assault. Like, there could have been a bunch of things for Jericho that would have just made his character more, like, feeling. I don't know.
I agree. I just, like, I really wanted to watch. I feel like for me, that's the strongest part of Jericho was, like, his relationship with Sam.
Yeah.
And I, like, that's why I wish the love triangle wasn't such a big thing, because, like, I would have loved to have seen him just, like,
have the bromance.
Grow that relationship.
Yeah.
Like, have his romance with Sam. I love that, like, his fake name was Freddie. I was just like,
it was really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Monica, what else do we have in our
we talked about the death. Do we want to talk about the King of Crows takedown moment, how he is defeated?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how did you guys feel about the King of Crows? Comment, I didn't really like the King of Crows as a villain. It's my main gripe of personal preference. What did you guys think of him as an overall villain?
I think I have mixed feelings. Like, I feel like he in the first and second book, he was just like a foreboding figure that they slowly but surely started to learn about. I do think maybe in book 3 and 4, I was being more let down by his presence, because it was kind of like I couldn't really tell what his powers were supposed to be, because they're kind of like sometimes he was like omnipotent and he knew everything that was going on and he was so powerful and you couldn't beat him. But then there was other times when he like couldn't find the diviners, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, sometimes you can just come to them in dreams, and then sometimes you're like, where are they? So I don't know. I felt like he's a little bit inconsistent as an ultimate villain, but I do think that the takedown, like, of Isaiah, I liked that Isaiah did it. But like I said, I'm a like broken record, but I just feel like the ending was so rushed that, like, pretty much the whole ending is all blurred in my mind between when, Evie, lets her brother's soul free, Jericho saves the day, and then Isaiah leaves his mom and, like, then, like, gets rid of the King Crow. Like, it all happened very fast. So, yeah, I know, Monica, you have more thoughts on, like, how he got taken down.
Yeah, well, I mean, I pretty much agree. Like, I do agree that the end itself is, like, very quick. And she doesn't really spend a lot of time developing that. To be honest, I kind of feel like that was never her thing, almost. Like, the defeat of, like, evil. And I feel like in her act, like, the end, when, like, you basically see, like, the rise of Hitler, I feel like it's very clear that, like, part of what she's saying is, like, there is no defeat of evil, and, like, the King of Crows doesn't exist. Like, he is sort of this metaphor, manifestation of, like, the whole, like, we're all connected thing, and, like, he's basically this entity that, like, they had created, or, like, Walt had created. And so I liked that. I liked the way that Isaiah took him down, and I liked against what I was saying earlier, like it just felt very ambitious, and that there was no like big bad. It honestly reminded me kind of like in the ending of Harry Potter when Voldemort dies and he just like dies and that's it, and he's just like I feel like there's a moment where it's in the books it's like he like drops to the floor with a thud, and it's just like, oh, he's just human, like he's just a person, which is why the films make me so mad when they have him flake away like some ethereal being. But it's
Still so
kind of similar in that like in that it's sort of, I feel like, going against what a normal villain would be or should be, and so I really liked that. But I agree, I think it was very rushed at the end. But at the same time, I can't imagine her writing like this big battle. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like
yeah. I like this comment. I think he was more effective for getting across the themes of the story, but as an actual villain, he wasn't the strongest. I feel like that's kind of what we're all saying, that like he represented a lot. And there's some other really good comments of like he was like big overture little show. That's how I feel like.
Yeah.
He kind of just like I personally love a villain that like has a really compelling, like not necessarily backstory, but a lot of substance and nuance to their character. I like to know the villain as a character and understand their motives, and he kind of just felt like the looming big bad that was like very metaphorical, but he like didn't do a lot and didn't, I don't know. He wasn't my favorite villain of the series. Like other people are saying that like Naughty John was much better villain. That's kind of what I was looking for with the buildup of him. Personally, so I feel like that, or Why May. People are talking about Why May. Like Why May was a great villain too.
Yeah.
I do like.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I do like the symbolism though of like when thinking about the King of Crows being more of like thematic. Like you kind of think about him as someone who ultimately like people were saying, like Isaiah basically just tells him like you're just an empty coat, and he is. I think it's kind of like, if you think about real people in our lives, sometimes we let them gaslight us into thinking they have power over us. And so I think kind of like, and I think you could even compare Roy to the King of Crows, where he like convinced Theta when they were married that like he was this powerful being, even though he wasn't. And so I think that's it's interesting to look at him through that lens. But I think because the book did start out with Naughty John, we all kind of just like wanted like a spooky ooky villain.
Exactly. That I think that's the fact of it. And that also comes back to what we were saying about like, this is not the ending that she would have written back in 2010. Like the story did evolve into something different. And I think it's one of those complex situations where it's like you want to give the author license to explore the stories that you want to, but you also kind of want to hang on to like what you like about the book, and you want it to have that fan service. So I feel that.
I agree.
I like this comment from Instagram. The King of Crows ending strongly parallels the ending of the second It movie, because Sarah said that before we went live.
I literally said it was an It Part 2 moment, and Monica said I never saw that.
I would never.
Yeah. Let's see what other discussions that we have.
Do we want to just go through each character, I guess, and just talk about
their like
I feel like we haven't talked a lot about Theta, and Theta has a really big part in the book.
I really wanted her to kill Roy. Like
I know,
I'm happy that she doesn't have to have that on her conscience, but like I was like, this is it. This is what's gonna happen.
No, I wanted her to kill him and then not feel bad about it. Like,
yeah, I know. He so deserved it.
He did. Like, just burn down all those clan people. Like, why could we not do that?
It just drives me crazy because, like, I hate, like, I know it sounds so naive for me to say, but I just hate that the KKK still exists. Like, because I also just watched the show Hollywood, and the KKK has a presence in that show as well. And I just hate. I know that sounds so like it's just annoying of me just be like, I just hate it, but I really do. It just makes me sad that like, and I guess that's what the King Crow represents too. Like he's a culmination of like all the hate in the world and stuff, and it's just really like upsetting that people like go around with these like life philosophies that are so like hateful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that was that was why in some ways I really do like what she did with the King of Crows, in that like you can't really, in life there really is no the end of the story. Like Memphis has that whole like passage where he like talks about that like I have it like highlighted, it gave me chills. He like talks about how like there is no end to the story, and it's just like we decide every day by our actions. And I feel like that with the final 2 books, a lot of what she was doing was kind of trying to strip away the like traditional hero villain narrative, and creating something new, which I really respect, like what she was doing there. But I think that's part of why I liked a lot of that.
This is a really great comment. Theta's my favorite character, and I'm so proud of her in the book. I love the ending. While it would have been amazing for her to kill her, I don't think it would have been right for her character, and I really agree with that. I don't think that murdering someone, even if it is the person that has caused her that much pain, like that doesn't seem consistent with her character at all. I can see so many other characters in the story having that response when faced with like a situation that Theta's been in. But I think like that was really true to her, and I was also very proud of her. And she's one of my, I think she's probably one of my like all-time fave characters, because I think her story is just really beautiful and powerful. And I was really happy with her all throughout the story. I think that she got to kind of like reclaim her power by the end, which is something she was really struggling with all throughout. So I love that.
Right. Yeah. I liked Theta's plotline minus the Elijah thing. I just felt like
that confused me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
I was like, she needs another
bizarre.
deadbeat boyfriend coming after her.
I
know. It was a little bizarre.
You want to talk about Henry?
I don't know. I feel like Henry, he was here in this book, and I liked.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of Henry in this book.
I like this part where Henry and Memphis were like, I think they were like in the Red Cross camp or whatever, and then they were like laying next to each other, and he touched Memphis, and Memphis got like low-key a little homophobic for a second, and that was like
a
educational moment for Memphis, like to not be othering when he feels so othered, because I think ultimately Memphis had no problem with him being gay, but it was just that stigma of like, oh, don't touch me because you're gay. So I did like that for like Henry, but beyond that, I don't really remember a ton of moments of me being like, yeah, Henry's just really thriving in this book.
That's how
I like had a whole like cry fest over Henry, especially like when he had the call with David about wiring money, and they basically like tell each other they love each other, but like at the same time they can't because someone might be listening, and it's just like both really beautiful and happy, but also heartbreaking. And I was just like sobbing. And it was exciting to see that growth, because like we see him go through like all this heartbreak earlier on in the books, and then to see him like go after like happiness. And also just like I agree that like Henry, for me, like the whole series has kind of just been like a floater, like he's just kind of been there. Like I've loved parts of his story, but like he's never felt as active as the other people. But I kind of feel like he even acknowledges that in the final book, where he's like, I'm done with like feeling like I'm just like this inactive player in my life story. And so I really loved like that growth from him in the final book.
Yeah, I really fell in love with Henry in Lair of Dreams, and I just personally felt that in this book he wasn't like, his moments weren't as memorable as some of the other characters, and I would have liked to see more from him because he was one of my faves. Let's see what other characters. I feel like we kind of talked about Evie a bit and Theta. Did we miss anything on Memphis or Jericho?
No.
What about?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you said let's ask you about Memphis or Jericho. Is that what you're saying?
I was saying, do you want to go on to Ling? Unless you had stuff about Memphis or Jericho.
Oh, yeah, no. I feel like we've already said a lot about Memphis and Jericho.
Yeah.
I think we should move on to Ling.
Yeah,
we can talk about Ling.
I really like Ling. yeah, I liked her plot in this. I feel like a lot of it was like her like starting to come out of her shell with Alma, and figuring out like not having the words to talk about being asexual, but like trying to like find those words. I thought was like really well done.
Yeah, I know. I liked it. I liked that it was a kind of exploring like how you would make that work if that was like what your sexuality is, because I feel like that's something that asexual people deal with, especially if they do want to have a romantic relationship. Like you kind of have to figure that out with your partner. And I liked that Alma also was like, well, we're gonna have to like find like a in between for us, and I think that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel exactly the same. I think that their whole progression from like first liking each other, and then if I remember correctly, Alma was kind of like very like rejective of Ling when she first presented that she wasn't interested in having a physical relationship. But they through the whole experience they moved past that and found themselves, and I thought it was really beautiful. And I also liked seeing her relationship with Jericho too when they were on their pairing, because that was two people I never expected to be together. So I really liked seeing them.
I also have like never likes Evie. She like just basically is like, I won't like Evie, and that's just like a fact. And I admire you like for sticking to it, because like she definitely does not ship Jericho and Evie together. She's like, please stop doing that.
Yeah, there was a comment before about how this is also something good to talk about when Evie is kind of just like petty that like Jericho found a new girl and like kind of like puts her in her place. I liked that moment.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, but
I also liked that like Jericho forced her to like look at some of her own like internalized like sexism when it came to Evie, which I feel like was kind of pointed at like, because I feel like so many people call Evie annoying or vapid or whatever like when they read her character, and part of me feels like that was Libba kind of commenting on that. And just like the way that people view Evie as a character. So I really liked that, and like Ling having to kind of confront that and be like, oh yeah, I don't have any of these issues with like Henry, who does the same thing. And then like in the end finding like a friendship with Evie despite it all.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me did we miss anyone? I feel like we also talked about Mabel.
We did, yeah.
Right.
Oh, someone said, what are your thoughts on Woody's death? I totally forgot
Woody.
About that.
I liked that, because I really feel like Woody finally was like, I'm actually working on a story that's meaningful. And like it was kind of like Bill's death, where it's like he had an arc where I feel like he got some sort of redemption. Did they even publish like I can't remember, because like when everything in the end, like did his story even get published?
It did, but I don't remember if it was like published under his name or not. Or
I don't think
I know.
I don't think it was. But I also liked he was like an unexpected like low-key hero underneath it all. He was like such an interesting he had such an interesting role in the beginning, and I feel like no one would have expected him to play the role that he did. It was really really cool.
I agree.
I'm sad about his death. That part was so stressful too, because it's like in the rain and dark, and he's like running, and then like
Okay, yeah, somebody just said, I thought Will and Evie should have a moment. I thought so too. This is what I said in our last live show. This was the scene that I pictured. Evie's able to save her brother's soul, and then Will shows up, and then her brother and Will walk off into the afterlife together. I think that would have been a really precious, tear-worthy moment, but I barely remember like I feel like Will didn't even like pop up that much towards the end when
someone said that it was just the warnings, really. He didn't have an active role like Mabel did.
I did like Evie's sort of her moment with her family, basically. And then like it's basically her like moment of like seeing her mom again for the first time, and then being devastated by that interaction, but then realizing that she did have a family and she did have love still, and it was like with her friends. I thought that was really powerful and well done. And it was like, I also like that Libba didn't, I guess, backtrack on some of that stuff, because I feel like it would have been easy to like just let them have like a happy ending, but like sometimes families suck.
Yeah.
And it's okay to like walk away from that if that's the case. And so I like that she depicted that.
Right. I agree. I think sometimes people are like, no, mothers always love their children. I'm like, no, there are many times where that's not true. And there's times when your family is toxic and you have to separate yourself from them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Evie serves like a really interesting story and commentary on that aspect.
I loved her whole character arc in this book, especially like when it came to, like, there's that one moment when I think she was talking to Ling, and Ling basically says, yeah, you don't really trust us. And it was, I thought, really interesting, because like she's such like an outgoing person, but she also really struggles to like be open with people. And so I loved that arc for her, and just like her realizing that about herself.
Right.
Oh, someone commented that his story did get published. That was why Sister Walker was released from prison. I just wonder, I don't know if it was under his name though. I don't remember.
It must have been, I guess. I don't know. It's so hard because it's like,
I don't recall.
It's like people kept doubting that the ghosts were real and stuff. So it's like, I wonder if his story would even be credited as like real. I don't know. Oh wait, and someone just said, okay, what did happen to Jake Marlowe? Because someone was like, oh, he didn't pay for his crimes. I'm like, I don't know, what happened to his character?
He died.
He did die. Okay.
He died, and he was basically, it was all revealed that he was the cause of all the stuff. Like, he had his whole reputation destroyed, but all the founders, club men, so all the rich people,
they got away with it.
They were fine because they were able to pay it all off, which like sucks. But that's also, I feel like you're supposed to leave it being very frustrated about that, because that is the way the world is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like it so easily mirrors what is rising at the end of the book with Hitler never really being able to pay for his crimes either. You know, I think it's definitely one of those situations where like it's more representative for him, like not to like suffer from it, and to get away with it and to have other people.
I think it's rare that someone like someone like Hitler or like who's real, or like Jake Marlowe or whatever, to actually pay for their crimes, because they just don't think what they did was wrong anyway. Like, I actually think Jake Marlowe dying is like, he valued his life a lot because he thought he deserved things and stuff. So it's for his life to end at the hands of like the thing that he thought that he wanted. I do think that was kind of payment for his crimes. But like, I think it's hard because it's like, unless you truly like reform a criminal, like, and even that is proven to be very difficult. Like, it's just hard. Like, even sociopaths who are like murderers who go to like prison the whole time, like if you look at the Ed Kemper interviews, he doesn't seem like he regrets anything he did, even though he's sitting in prison. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just hard to get to someone to actually like pay for their crimes.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like okay, with everything that Jake Marlowe did and all the families' lives that he ruined, and all the horrible things he did, like, is there ever really a way for him to make up for any of that? Like, I think that there's definitely, oh, sorry, that's so loud. There's definitely like justice, of course. And I think sometimes it's more that justice is not served as opposed to it being like, have they actually paid for it?
Right.
Yeah. Do we have maybe any other, because we're getting kind of to the end of the live stream, so I don't know if there's maybe any last minute questions or things to discuss, but I feel like we've been making our way through this.
What are you guys going to do now that this series is over?
Oh my God, I want to reread it.
I know. I want to try and become a Hollywood producer so I can get someone to adapt it.
Oh, dude, where's our Netflix series? Where is it?
Yeah, Netflix. One of the streaming services, or primetime cable, like, they need to pick it up because it's so episodic the way it's written too. Like, even this book, even though it wasn't my favorite, I can literally picture what would be in each episode. Like, the way she writes things is such like snapshotty. Like, you can literally feel where an episode would start and end and how you would like the cliffhanger. Like in the third book, was it the third book when they go to the post office and
Yeah.
like, I could picture that being in the episode and the ending being like they're under the desk and like the guys coming in and they're like, oh my god, like you know what I mean? Like you can like picture these different like
It's so visual.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh,
someone commented Sam, and I do think we didn't really talk about Sam at all.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I really felt for him when Evie was like dying. I felt so much sympathy for him.
Right.
I was
Poor baby.
When Evie woke up and Sam was not responding. I was like, lady.
I had to unplug my computer as well.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything like else to say. I was just very like all I wanted from this book for Sam and Evie was them to be happy together, and I got what I wanted.
Right.
Like, I was like, don't touch them. They're perfect.
I guess them breaking him out of Marlowe's mansion was very underwhelming. Like Evie just like showed up dressed like a man and then was like, "Let's go," and they're like, "All right, bye."
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was so early on.
I was just like, "All right, I guess you could just go in." And even though Miriam's been a prisoner for like 10 years, I guess you can just get Sam out in 5 minutes.
Aww.
Miriam died. Right? She died.
No.
No?
No. She hugs Evie and Sam at the end. And she's free.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. What about, we didn't talk about this either, like the whole ending. Like, what do we think about them losing their powers at the end? I feel like it was very symbolic and reasonable. And I hate when series end like that, but
I mean, I guess it makes sense though. They don't really need
it
that.
really makes sense.
Also, they gave like Evie headache. Like, I honestly feel like it would have been like the scenarios where like there's a cost for using your powers, and maybe eventually she would have gotten like brain cancer or something. So it's probably for the best.
Yeah. Especially Memphis, with like having to take people's sicknesses and stuff.
Yeah.
I also feel like it was kind of a gift to them in some ways to take it away, because especially with what's coming up next, I feel like they would have then had to feel like, oh, we have this. We have to fight everything, you know, like they would turn into like X-Men or something.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I don't know if that would be fair to them as characters or people to force that on them. So I like that they sort of lost those abilities and were able to kind of be normal again.
Yeah, I do like that the characters can like finally be normal again, and you know they do like have their own lives. Sam and Evie married and happy in love, and Memphis and Theta and Isaiah. Like I love a happy ending. I love conflict, but I do like very much love a happy ending.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do we want to talk about like the ending with like the way that she ends it, basically with two horrible things about to happen?
Yeah.
Both Hindenburg and the rise of Nazi Germany.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think that it was the right way to end it. You know, like I feel like this book set in this time period, like it was necessary to.
Yeah, it makes sense.
End it like that.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah.
I know that people have like looked a lot into the epilogue/prologue thing. How do you guys feel about that? Because it seems like some people have interpreted it as like another book is coming, but I more interpreted as like this is the start to like the next part of history. I didn't see it as a thing that she's like writing another diviner's book or anything.
Yeah, I don't think so. To me, I think it was kind of what Monica kept touching on, where it's like you can never really defeat evil. And so it's like,
exactly.
Even though they defeated this chapter of evil in their lives, and that, but like, you know, the realities are like there's going to be the rise of Hitler. Also, like even though you know Theta and Memphis had a happy ending, they're going to be together. Like they're still going to have to deal with like being an interracial couple. Ling still has to deal with like being disabled. Like there's like a lot of things.
Yeah.
That like. Yeah, I just think that it was symbolic. It was meant to be symbolic, not really saying that there's going to be another book.
Yeah, I'd be really, honestly, very surprised if she ever continued the Diviners.
Right. I agree. It also I think it took a lot out of her. Like, I kind of feel like I remember her, like, it was on Tumblr or Twitter, like, she had written a post saying that, like, she had to, like, it was, like, really complex, like, all the webs of, like, things connecting and whatever. So I'm like, I feel like she explored it the way she wanted to, because originally it was supposed to be a 6-book series, but then it got shortened. So I think it was kind of like, I think she's good.
Yeah, I don't foresee her continuing on with the series, but then again, I feel like this feels like a very complete story.
I agree.
The ending was very satisfactory to me. And though I would love like a zillion spin-offs and whatnot, like I feel like that just falls into fan service, and like she did what like she intended to do with this book.
She's not going to have a Cassandra Clare empire with the
No. But we should have a TV show.
Oh, please.
Yes.
I want her to be like a producer or like a writer or something, like something where she has like creative control, because Cassie
they could fuck this up so bad too.
Well, I know she's talked about how like they've tried adapting Beauty Queens, her novel, but she's killed almost every adaptation of it because they keep wanting to like turn it into like cat fight stuff and like basically take away everything she like was trying to do with the book.
Similar to Beauty Queens, The Diviners is really like built on like its messages and its themes. So it's kind of like those series same in that way, where it's like you have to maintain the commentary for it to be meaningful.
Exactly. And a lot of executives don't care about doing that.
No, they don't. They're like, are we going to hire 40-year-olds to play the 16-year-olds?
How many love triangles can we fit into those?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Still holding out hope, though. I will always hold out hope. I feel like that might conclude our live show. I feel like that was a very thorough discussion. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the Diviners Club. We had so much fun doing this read along for the past however many months now. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
We've been doing this for a long time. Yeah. So we really appreciate you guys joining us, whether it was your first time reading the series or rereading it like us, and getting to experience King of Crows together. It was very, very cool. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Any other last words from you guys?
Thanks for joining us. I'm glad that we've got a lot of people to pick up. I feel like I saw a lot of tweets of people being like, oh, I'm finally reading this because of the read along. So
yeah, and that was our whole intention really, was we just wanted to spread joy and have other people enjoy it, because it's something that not everyone gets to. But, you know, not everyone has picked up this book. It's not super mainstream. So it's been really awesome to see the excitement that we all feel. But thank you guys so much for joining us for this read along, and we will talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.